when Shannon is like really, really upset, like this is like coming from that she's very upset. She's like, it's a primal fear. And I would say like, she probably does feel like a victim a lot. She does feel wounded. She does feel very hurt, because these are also, this Pluto is directly across from this Chiron, this wounded healer. Like there's a very like, it's almost that Pluto is almost like trying to pull that Chiron, pull that wound under, like pulling it back into the underworld with like, come back into this dark place with me. We gonna stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way. Welcome back, PCP astrology viewers. We're back with the part dos of Shannon Beador. You made it back. I'm so glad that you returned. Aren't you glad, Dahlia?
I'm so glad. This is my favorite part of the week. I say it every time, but I'm just going to keep, like, I want to share this as much as I can because I'm obsessed with doing these.
I know. These are fun.
I feel like I'm learning astrology.
You are. And I mean, that's kind of like one of the things with doing this is that, I mean, not only do I get to share astrology and have fun with you and with our listeners, but I get to teach y'all something, and I get to learn stuff too, because the more, as an astrologer, you actually learn more by practicing and by reading people's charts and seeing this in person. And so, I mean, and when I do a reading for somebody, I prefer to do them like either in person or over Zoom, because like we have a conversation, and that's how I learn even more stuff of like, you know, I talk about a transit or something happened, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh. And then they'll tell me this, and I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. And then sometimes they'll put in a little bit of extra, like a little bit extra to that story. And I'll go, oh, well, then that relates to this thing right here. And it's like, that's amazing. I'm putting together even more of these things. Right. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And I forget sometimes that astrology can be so literal. Like it shocks me every time that it can be so on the nose.
It really can be. It can be. It's so weird. But anyway, well, we are going to get back to Shannon Storms Beador. We did that every time.
We needed a minute. I had to go to the bathroom.
Coming back, but I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump like right back into her. We're going to jump right back into her chart, back into it, because we are just going for it today, not taking any time. Here we go. All right. Shannon Storms Beador. So there is, I will say this, because we were talking, because we don't know our birth time, anything like that. So we don't have a rising sign. But kind of like that volcano underneath the water, and she does speak like with a veracity though. And I think a lot of that is actually the Mars Sun out of sign conjunction. And again, Mars in Pisces, a water sign. So this is the like, but it's also very much like she will always kind of like have that like little like, I'm gonna do that. Like that's just it's just her. She probably came out screaming, going like
right.
She probably was like a little
Shannon.
Yeah, she probably was like a blonde little kid just always running around going like that.
Yes.
So
never change, Shannon.
Yeah. So that's Shannon. She is like very lucky in that she has the very nice placement of Venus in its home sign of Taurus.
Okay.
Venus rules both Taurus and Libra, and it is exalted in Pisces. So those are three signs that it loves being in. So, I mean, I would say this with her, like this is kind of why she enjoys the finer things in life. You know, she enjoys luxury. She enjoys, you know, having money. Like we were talking about, like she used to have a lot of money when she was married to David.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think her family came. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say also the giving of the expensive gifts, right? We just saw her giving away those like $600 scarves. I guess that's the same thing.
You know, I mean, you make a great point. I think one of her, you know, quote unquote, I hate them, but love languages is gift giving. Like that would make sense with having Venus in Taurus, like, because Venus is an earth sign and it is a very giving sign. Like think about it, like things grow out of the earth. Like that's like, it's like the giving tree even. Like this is a way that she feels love, is by giving gifts. And she probably feels love by receiving gifts too.
Yeah.
Like she probably is a person, like, it doesn't even matter like how much
Right.
it is.
It's so interesting that you just said the giving tree, because combined with what we were just talking about of like, because you know that story, right? Of like giving and giving until it's all gone. That's kind of what we were just talking about like her poor money management may also be, she likes to get, because she's not just spending on herself. She doesn't just like hoard the wealth and the expensive gifts for herself. She also gives it, which is still spending money, you know,
Yep.
but she sees it as like, I'm just giving. Like, of course, I love to give, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think it's, because there's not really much of a, there's not any really hard aspects of that Venus to anything else.
Mhm.
I don't believe it's a giving to get friends. Like it's not for buying friends or buying love or anything like that. It's like
Mhm.
truly like coming from her. It is opposite, like directly opposite her almost opposite her Scorpio, but it's like not Stacy, get your words right.
Brain fog.
Her Neptune, like speaking of Neptune, foggy Neptune. So
Right.
I think like maybe she sometimes doesn't see that it's like either not appreciated or is going to the wrong
Mm,
person, or that maybe, you know, maybe she shouldn't spend that much money, or she shouldn't, because also Venus does rule money too. So like
right.
this is, you know, so she should, this is where I really want to know what houses it is. Cause especially if
Right.
this was like is in her second house and eighth house, like, girl, please stop spending that money on people. Like make sure that they are worthy and deserve it before you spend that money on people.
Right. Which we
Yeah.
saw Tamara was not.
No, Tamara is
Because
not
she
worthy.
immediately turned around and was talking shit about it. Like, okay, well
Mhm.
then give me your scarf back, bitch.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Heather can buy her own fucking scarf. So,
Exactly.
um,
Maybe I shouldn't have watched the episode before because I am heated about these women.
you are. I am too, though. And you're getting me even more heated.
I know. I'm encouraging you. Like, yes. Be mad.
Well, her moon is in Virgo.
Mhm.
Granted, it depends on her birth time. We don't have her birth time. So, another reason birth time is important is because the moon changes sign every 2 days. So sometimes if it's kind of early or late in a sign, it could be in another sign. So it could be she could be a Leo moon if she was born early in the morning.
Mhm.
So she could be a Leo moon. But just putting her smack dab in the middle of the day, she's a Virgo moon, which
Okay.
I do think makes more sense for her because because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, as you well know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like she has to express her emotions. While she
Mhm.
wants to be calm and she wants to be cool, a cool like cucumber. Her that Mars in Pisces, that Mercury in Aries, and then this like fucking moon in Virgo, she ain't gonna keep her mouth shut. Like if she's feeling something, she's letting it out.
Right. Y'all are gonna know how I feel about this. And that may
Mhm.
have something to do with like this incessant victimization that she puts herself in too, is like she may not necessarily see it as that. She may just be like, I'm just expressing my feelings and I've got lots of them,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, it kind of goes with we don't know if it is really conjunct this Uranus or
Mhm.
Pluto. But this Pluto here, Pluto's like the lord of the underworld and is very dark and
Mhm.
powerful, but is also like it is dark. It's the lord of death and underworld and all these things. So like there's like a darkness there. It can be very powerful, but like her emotions are very full of I have Pluto in my moon conjunct too, which is again kind of
Mhm.
volcanic when it comes to your emotions. So when they finally come out, it's like boom,
Right.
they just explode. And you sometimes it can like be scary because it's like I don't want them to be that way, but
Right.
also it's because it comes from a very almost like primal place for her of like, you have injured me so hardcore, almost like what we saw with Jen Pedranti in that
Mhm.
episode of like, you finally got me, you finally hurt me. Like this is where it's coming from. So
Right.
when when she when Shannon is like really, really upset, like this is like coming from that she's very upset. She's like, it's a primal fear. And I would say like she probably does feel like a victim a lot. She does feel
Right.
wounded. She does feel very hurt because these are also this Pluto is directly across from this Chiron, this wounded healer. Like there's a very like it's almost that Pluto is almost like trying to pull that Chiron, pull that wound under, like pulling it back into the underworld with like, let come back into this dark place with me.
Wow.
So you asked last episode about like, what she can do during the Saturn return and kind of like using Saturn to kind of help pull the Chiron away from Pluto. Because Saturn
Okay.
was even though Pluto is the furthest planet out in ancient times, Saturn was the furthest planet out. So it was that could be seen with the visible eye. And so it was kind of like the planet of like heretics and people out there, stuff like that. Again, Shannon seems like she's out there. She's got, gems put into her teeth and like put into the foundation of her old
Right.
house and everything like that. Like people think that she was out there and stuff like that. She is kind of out there. So use the power of Saturn to pull that wound out of that
So
from
what does that look like, introducing more structure? Like what are like action steps that she would take for that?
without knowing the house. I definitely think
Mhm.
adding more structure, I like a regimen of like physically getting into her body. And I almost like say like
Right.
grounding herself because like Pisces is very watery. Like I have to work on grounding myself a lot. She
Mhm.
and like actually using that Virgo moon to even like find your place on terra firma, not in the
Mhm.
underworld and not too far in the sky. Like try to find your place there. Maybe she should do more yoga. Like get in with Jin Padranti, do more yoga.
Right.
Stop talking during the yoga and breathe and actually do it. Stop relying on these gemstones and whatever. Like, look, I love my crystals. I
Uh-huh.
love my
Right.
crystals. But let's
Yeah,
stop
man,
relying on the crystals to do it. And let's bring that energy into our body without like doing like let's find a way to ground ourselves and use our body. Like I would highly recommend for her like some type of like yoga or walking, just anything to like kind of like
Mhm.
get herself there, but also like yes, do a consistent like, therapy regimen, food, like
Right.
eating the right foods that are good for her, that feel good
Mhm.
for her, not just like that,
Right.
not just comfort foods. I mean, I do suggest that she stop drinking, but you know, I think that would clear up
Without
some
looking
stuff.
at her zodiac chart, we could say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, that's another thing because she has this north node here in
Mhm.
Cancer and her south node is in Capricorn. So like she she has to learn to work with her emotions. Like let's
Mhm.
stop bottling them up. Let's stop this. The volcano is always going to be there. We have to learn how to work with the things that we are given when we are born. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like almost
Mhm.
like I think of like our chart kind of as like our genetic code that we're given. Like you do your
1,000.
23andMe and you get it, and there's all these possibilities. My friend did it through ancestry.com, and it'll tell you like whether or not you're like more likely to have freckles or not, or like more likely to like have this or that. But sometimes it doesn't happen, like because also sometimes genes are turned on when you're born and they stay on your entire life, or they get turned on and then they get turned off. Like my brother had a peanut allergy when he was younger, and now he doesn't
Right.
anymore. And some people get a peanut allergy later and it's on, or, on their entire life, and some people have a peanut
Right.
allergy their entire life and it's horrible and it's terrible. And that's kind of like what your chart is. Like certain transits
Mhm.
will turn on and off things in your life, and some things will be on constantly.
Yeah, well, in human design, which is like a super system with astrology, numerology, and all that stuff, they have what are called gates, and I
Mhm.
don't know enough about it to know what opens and closes them, but I know that there are where it's like this gate's open and then something transits and it closes, so that makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, there are times where she definitely she has to work with like not letting those emotions. She needs to figure out how to harness those emotions, let them out, but not bleed them all over everybody.
Well, and as a Cancer rising, this is something I've had to work with too, is when you think about even like the earthquakes, they say that there's not been this big earthquake and it's like, and I don't even know if this is true because I looked it up and some people say it's not, but if there's like smaller earthquakes, that then the big one's not as bad. And let's just operate as if that were true. I know emotionally, if you have regulate and therapy would be a good time for her to do this. We were talking about therapy, like talking to a therapist, because then you get the best of both worlds. You get to talk about all your feelings. They're paid to sit there and listen. You're getting it all out so that it's not this huge volcanic eruption when you are finally letting it out, because letting your feelings out is not a bad thing. But like you're saying, when it spews out onto other people, that's when it becomes an issue. So yeah, I think if she would just let it out a little bit at a time and maybe not, and I could be projecting here too, but like maybe not resenting your emotions. And again, I'll say this, you have to keep people around you who are able to hold space for your emotions, like having Tamara and people like this who like villainize your emotions is dangerous. Like really.
Yeah, exactly. And what you're saying is like spot on, because there's this like what they call a wedge from her south node to her moon, and Pluto and Uranus here to her north node, and then there's an opposition there. So it's a little wedge here. So like there's this like fulcrum point here with her moon and this stellium right here of like in an earth sign of like, how do we get this out through her body? Like that's why like yoga or anything, or even like rage therapy. Do you know what I mean? Like going to a smash room. Like maybe she should go to a smash room quarterly. Like get it out of your body. Because talking about it's one thing, and she's good with talking about, even though like she mixes up her words and stuff like that.
Right.
Just like I do. But but like maybe if she got it out of her body more, it would be better coming out of her mouth.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that's like Pisces and stuff too. I've had to work with my placement of like, it's easy to dissociate. Right. And I don't even know that it's necessarily astrology as much as like, but when I go into therapy, like talk therapy is not necessarily helpful for me because I can intellectualize all of my emotions, but that's not actually feeling them. And that has been the hardest thing for me. And that I think you gave me that advice too, and therapists too, like yoga and things to get back into my body to like bring it, because it's all up here and it's like dreamy and she could talk about it and like it's abstract, but it's like get it down in here, actually focus on what you're feeling, like what you're saying, the gemstones and all that stuff's great, but like feeling it in your body is going to change things for her. And it's hard, by the way. Feeling feelings in your body is incredibly difficult for someone who just like there's no I feel like there's no like risk really in intellectualize your feelings, because it's fine. You just get to be like, what causes probably other people. A lot of times it's like outside things that you can be like, yeah, my dad gave me this. It was a gift from my mother, but to feel them in your body is incredibly uncomfortable. And to drink is to dissociate as well,
Girl, I mean, you're hitting nails on heads right there.
It's because I know, because it's me too. As much as I hate to admit it.
Well, this is the thing that we go through life. I told you, I was like, the way I first like learn astrology is through my own chart. And it's not selfish or self-centered. We all do it. Like my teachers have said, we learn the best through our own charts first. And that's also like how we relate to everybody else in the world is through our own experience. It's that can we like eventually use our own experience to look at other people's lives and see their life for theirs and go, well, their life is not my life. And that's what we start to do. And that's like where I find astrology helpful for me, and being able to recognize that other people's lives are not the same as my life. And here is kind of why I can see like a why there. And if somebody needs a why, astrology might be a good tool for you to learn that. Might be other ways. But like with her, when you're talking about like embodiment, like think about also how we have seen her body change. I'm not having a body shaming thing or anything. I just want to say like physically, like I'm somebody where like when I've been in a really bad relationship, I love to eat. I have a hard time. Like people who are like, I forgot to eat. I don't understand you. I
I
don't
can't
understand
relate.
you.
Right.
Cannot relate, have never been able to relate to that. But when I've been in a couple of like really bad relationships, I somehow could not eat. I did not
Mhm.
forget to eat. I could not eat. And I lost a lot of weight and I had stuff. But then when other things are going on, it's like I can't stop eating, stuff like that. And so we've seen her, like when we first met her, she was incredibly skinny, like almost like too
Mhm.
skinny. And then we've seen her weight like change like through all these bad things. So like her emotions and her feelings are getting trapped and used. Her body is using them, but not in like healthy ways.
Right.
So, I mean, I have a feeling she's trying to figure that out. I also don't think that menopause helps very much either. So,
Oh, God, I know.
but like everything works together. I said it during the Lisa Barlow episode, like it's all mind, body, spirit. We are all
Mhm.
of these things. We're not just one or two of these things. We all came into this world, into this existence to connect all three of these. We're not just
Mhm.
having like a physical experience. We're having an emotional experience. We're having a mental experience. We're having a spiritual experience, all three of them. So
Mhm.
if we can find a way to best balance that, it's not going to be 100% all the time, but as long as we can kind of like find a way to like have like a decent balance of it, everything kind of flows a little bit easier. And
Right.
but that's also not to say that like if something like happens bad in your life that you fucked up or anything. No, life happens. Life is chaos.
Right.
It is
Right.
fated chaos is what I call it.
Fated chaos. I'm getting that tattooed. I love that.
um oh, what was it? Her DUI. Have her DUI. I need to like open it. Hold on. There we go.
The natal
Because
chart. Look, I'm grinning over here. People don't know that that's what you were pulling up. You said DUI, and I'm like, yes. I know. The
yes.
chart, because everything can have a chart, not just people. The
Mhm.
country, the US, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
my podcast, I ran my podcast
Mhm.
birth chart.
Yep.
I wish I would have been more strategic about when I put that out. If I, had I known,
Mhm.
I'll let you see that
So
one day.
so I I ran when she got her DUI, which was the early morning of
Right.
September 17th. Because like some people were like September 16th, but it was like it was like just after midnight.
Mhm.
So or and then so it kind of does honestly, even though it says 6:14, it doesn't matter because of what the transit that I'm looking at. Because at that time, Mars and Neptune, like Neptune was transiting her natal Mars. And I was talking about this, how this is like not the greatest thing for her right now.
Mhm.
And I was looking up in the wonderful Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. It's a great book
Mhm.
about like it basically is about archetypes of when planets, a combination of planets. And so it's really good.
Right.
Um, and it gives a lot of information, but like one of like when it comes to like the shadow qualities of this, the thing that like stuck out to me, let me just read it
Mhm.
word for word what it says.
Okay.
It says, a sense of having committed harmful actions in the past, the recognition that every past action sticks with us like a covering of amniotic fluid, feelings of anguish and torment, debilitation and wasting away, identification with scoundrels, poisoning, or problems with liquids.
Yikes. This is what we were talking about with the literal astrology.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is also like Neptune takes about like 11 to 12 years, kind of depends to like go through a sign. So this is just like, it's just like moving over this period, just kind of like that. And Pluto moves so slowly. They almost just kind of like are like it's like when when you were a kid and you were bored in class and you just took a pencil and you just went back and forth and back and forth. It's like, will you understand this? Like
Right.
come
You're
on,
gonna get
Shannon.
this.
Stop drinking. Stop being with
Right.
scoundrels. Like,
Right.
here we go. Like let's use the lighter side of your spirituality. Stop looking at like the darker side. Stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. Time to save yourself, Shannon. Time to save yourself. Like that's because
that's what she needs to hear the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's another thing in here. It's when it comes to spirituality, it says like an active quest or moving towards wholeness. And I think that's something. And I think with Saturn being there for her, it can bring that structure too. It can crystallize that. And you know, look, Saturn was right there, almost on top of her natal Saturn, which is just, it's a tough position. It truly was like a wake up moment for her to do that, for that to happen. So it really was. And that's interesting. And this little guy Pholus is another little asteroid. And he's an asteroid that denotes a lot of times like a domino effect in our lives. Like something will happen, usually with a transit with him. And sometimes like a domino effect. Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's transiting over her south node and Ceres, which Ceres is another asteroid who is also AKA Demeter. Her daughter Persephone was kidnapped and raped and by Hades and taken down. And Demeter made a deal with Hades that if she can come up for half the year and live with me, I'll be happy. And then she'd go back down for the other half of the year. So when she's with Demeter or Ceres, we have spring and summer. And when she has to go back down to Hades, Ceres gets very upset because Ceres / Demeter is the goddess of the harvest / fertility. And so she gets very upset and gets sad. And then, so when Persephone's down in Hades, it is winter and fall. Everything is dead. So that's why she's like shaped like a scythe too, because she's like the goddess of the harvest. So like, let's cut things out. Like she gives and she takes away too. Look, these are all gods and goddesses. Like gods, you don't just have to be Zeus to like give and take away. Like you can be Hades, you can be Uranus, you can be Ceres. So like, this is a domino effect of like, you need to let go of something, Shannon, that you've been holding on to really tightly in the Capricorn part of your chart. In the Saturn ruled part of your chart, we need to cut it out. Oh my God. I can't believe I just did that.
That's a deep cut.
That is really so many puns. But it was a wake up call. It was a domino, effect. So like what she does with that this is the thing. I've talked about this before. I didn't believe in fate until some more stuff in astrology happened.
Right.
For me to like believe more in fate. But like I said, it's like chaotic fate because she gets to decide like I believe that there are certain points and almost like markers that we have to meet in our lives. There's certain things that are just going to happen in our lives no matter what. But like you get to decide what happens in between. So it also gets to decide how like you end up experiencing that moment.
Right. And you've talked about it before too, that there are not like there's no bad astrology or whatever. So I think like what you're saying is almost like a choose your own adventure when you get to these like checkpoints. It's like it's going to happen regardless. You're going through it, right? You got the DUI and you can make it more pleasurable, which sounds weird, but in the same way we had talked about like a really difficult breakup that I went through was a catalyst for a lot of really great things. But you have that choice to either, like you were talking about, crystallize this into something moving forward so you do change the trajectory, or it's a domino of the same shit, like bad, difficult.
Yeah. And the thing, like, yeah, because it's all the way you end up taking these things. Bad things are going to happen to us. Bad things are going to happen to us and bad things in our lives. And it's how we move with them because because either like she gets this DUI, how does she deal with it? I mean, right now she's kind of becoming like the heroine of ROC, this season. She could have like effed it up even more and become more of the villain in a lot of ways. Or you know what, leading up to that, she could have like stopped drinking and she could have just had a really bad breakup with John Jansen, where she realized that this person wasn't good for her. And she could have just had a drunken breakup with him, got an Uber, and then be sued and not had a DUI. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
there's just different things that could have happened. She did choose certain things that led to like similar stuff. Like, but still, this year was 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026. Like, they were going to be tough. They were going to be shitty years. And some things were going to happen that were going to cause change and force change upon her.
Yeah. I do worry. I mean, obviously she needs to stop drinking anyway, but like, I just feel like, maybe it's just black and white thinking of like, none of this is going to matter if she keeps drinking, but like, it feels like you're talking about cutting it out, like getting to the root of it. I think a lot of the stuff at the root is the drinking, or that, like we were talking about, the dissociating, which is fueled by the drinking, or that she's using it as like escapism. And it's like, I do want to see her become the heroine of the story, but it feels like a crucial part of that story arc for her is to quit drinking. And she's not, which makes me worry.
Yeah.
I don't think it's because she doesn't want to. I think it's because she can't. I think she can't stop.
I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. Again, we have to give people enough rope.
You're right.
Like, yeah. And the thing is too, is that she's 60 years old, and she's going through her second Saturn return with a chironic wound. So it's time to deal with whatever childhood wounds she has not dealt with, because they're obviously are blowing up her life still.
Right.
And if she doesn't, they will continue to blow up her life. But she could do something now. She can use this DUI. She can use the spotlight of housewives to really start to undo those things. And not just for her, but for her daughters as well. Because this is generational. We pass it down. Like, it's very interesting that way. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like, that would be my advice to Shannon, without knowing her houses or anything like that. But like, this is the next 2 to 8 years, very pivotal for her to really heal those wounds, to work on it. And that's the thing a lot of times I think is like, oh, I can just heal it by just like meditating and doing crystals and stuff like that. No, this is the work. This is just like it comes to like, before Ozempic, which I am very pro Ozempic. So I don't want anybody, I am pro Ozempic. I'm all for it. But like before that, like, it's like either eating right and exercising, doing that stuff, or when it comes to a budget, like when you're financially, like, find that budget, do that budget. No, you can't go out to eat. No, you can't do DoorDash. You're not going out to see movies. You're not doing this. And it sucks and it sucks and it sucks and it sucks. But 6 months down the line, when you're starting to get out and climbing out of that debt, you're so glad that you started, because if it's 6 months down the line and that debt is still piling up, you will wish you've started 6 months ago.
Yep.
And so
it sucks until it doesn't.
It does. It's exactly what it is. So it's just, if she hasn't already started, because again, it is reality television, but we only see a certain amount. We only see them filming for like 3 to 4 months out of their lives, and we're not seeing 24/7. And
and the edits.
So
who knows?
Hopefully she is getting, she's working on it. I don't know. I mean, from what I hear, she has drinks, but we'll see.
Right. We'll see. Time will tell.
Any other question before we wrap this?
I don't think so. I do have one, but I'm actually going to wait until Heather's chart because it relates to the both of them. So I want to see her chart and then I can ask you. So cliffhanger until the next episode.
Ooh, like that one. Well,
yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode of PCP / BravoBitchfest Astrology, make sure you follow us wherever you get your wonderful ass podcasts.
Yes. And do it on YouTube so you can see the charts.
Yeah. Make sure you also like click subscribe, click the like
Mhm.
button. Make sure you also rate and review us everywhere. Make sure you follow BravoBitchfest. She's just BravoBitchfest on all of the socials everywhere.
Yep.
She's hilarious. Make sure you follow her because also TikTok like to put her out on.
Yeah, it put me in
Time out.
jail.
That was
It's
BS.
fine. It's fine. I literally knew that it happened. It was because I made that Bethany video after we finished our astrology about her. I was feeling inspired and I made a video about her boobs. And then I knew that it landed me in TikTok jail. And then I did it again.
You
But
did.
I don't care. It was worth it. I don't care.
Poke the bear.
Exactly. If it's going, the app may be going away. Who cares? Let's go out with a bang, you know?
Do it. Let's do it. Well,
Like
you know, and then you follow me at Real Stacy Connor on socials. Follow Pretty Corrupt Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, Pretty Corrupt One on Twitter. And if you want a reading with me, you can email me, stacynoelleconner@gmail.com. Everything is in the descriptions below. And next one we'll be coming with you is Miss Heather Dubrow. So
I can't wait.
stay tuned.